I think it's crazy how what holds most people back isn't anything that has to do with what's going on outside of them. It's themselves. It's what's going on the inside. And maybe you've heard the expression like, I'm my own worst enemy. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the inner critic necessarily. I'm talking about the fact that most of us are held back because we're afraid to feel something. There's a certain emotion that we're afraid of. And Harvard research has shown that this is really a thing. It's called affect phobia, or a fear of feelings. And if you think about like what it is that you really want in your life, like just take a second to bring to mind something that you really want. Okay? And once you've got it, think about how you want that to make you feel or how you think it's going to make you feel once you get there. Just take a second. See, because what's really happening here is you want whatever that thing is because of how you think it's going to make you feel. And maybe you've never even thought about that, or maybe you haven't realized it. Maybe this is the first time you're realizing it. But the fact is, and this is science, right? This isn't just my opinion. The fact is, we do things or we don't do things to feel something or to not feel something. Okay, so maybe that thing that you thought of that you really wanted was to ensure that you didn't feel a certain thing, right? But that's the opposite side of the same coin. It's emotional. It's emotionally driven. And I really started to understand this. I have kind of like a silly story, but when I was 16, I was out with a couple of my guy friends who were older, and we were out at this pizza restaurant. And at this pizza restaurant, we're having dinner, okay? It's Valentine's Day, and none of us had Valentines. So, we were just out having pizza. And there was this really cute girl that was working at the pizza spot. And they pointed out that, like, I couldn't stop looking at her, right? And then, I was talking about her, and they were like, well, why don't you go talk to her? I was like, nah, I'm not going to go talk to her. She's at work. I'm not going to go say anything. And they're like, no, seriously, like, why don't you just, like, do something? Like, it's Valentine's Day. Like, why don't you, make it happen? And I still wasn't doing it, right? Like, I just didn't want to do it for whatever reason, whatever my excuses were, okay? And so what one of them said is, I'm going to count to three. And on the count of three, if you don't, go up there, I'm gonna hit you. Like, I'm gonna hit you in a you know down there, right? We're young and we're dumb. This is just what we did, okay? And so they counted down, and like I know that they meant it, right? And so what ultimately ended up happening is I ended up approaching or whatever, and nothing came of it. But what I realized is the anticipation was what was holding me back. The fear of not knowing what would happen, and even maybe the rejection. But the thing is, all of those things that could happen, if they did happen, the sensation of it is what's so scary. It's not really actually the thing. And so for example, say you walk up to a girl and you shoot your shot with her and she rejects you. What actually happens, okay, what actually happens is you notice a warm feeling in your face. You maybe notice a sinking feeling in your stomach. And maybe your brain even begins to tell you a story about what all of that means, trying to make sense of it. But again, all of that is just emotional, and it comes and it goes. And so would you let that be the only reason why you don't possibly connect with who could be the love of your life? Or would you let that be the only reason why you don't put yourself out there on camera? Or the only reason why you don't move to a new city? If you really think about it, we get really emotional about a lot of these things when it's not necessary. And so that's why I say, like, the work to master your emotions and emotional regulation is the most important work that you can do. And it really is a success strategy, right? Because here's the thing, emotions are what our body uses to get our needs met. In one way or another, they're working you, whether you know it or not. So you kind of have two choices. You can be a slave to them. You can let them kind of be your puppet master, so to speak. Or you can learn to leverage them and you can learn to work with them. You can understand that the reason I want this thing or the reason why this thing is hard for me is because of something going on emotionally. Isn't that crazy to think about? And so now that I know that, it's been easier for me to take certain leaps. It's been easier for me to put myself out there. It's been easier for me to get out of my own way so much faster because I recognize, okay, if I'm stuck or if I'm holding myself back, it's emotional. And the thing about fear in general is fear is often your North Star when you really think about it, because when does fear show up? When you're looking to get out of your comfort zone, when you're looking to get out of what's normal. And don't you recognize, or at least know, that once you get out of your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens, that's where the growth happens? If you really think about it, all good stuff comes on the other side of your comfort zone. But what keeps you in your comfort zone? Avoiding fear, avoiding feeling fear. And really all that is just some sensations flowing through your body, because the thing that you fear isn't going to kill you. And even, I mentioned affect phobia before, and maybe I'll leave a link to the definition of affect and what that is. But anyways, if you really think about it, it's the fear of the feeling that is holding you back, but it's not actually going to kill you. Fear exists in our system, right, to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep us from dying from like a tiger in the wild. But ultimately, no feeling is actually going to kill us. The rub is, from the perspective of our nervous system, feelings could kill us, right? Like feeling is like feeling certain feelings is death from the perspective of the nervous system. And that's where we get so hung up and held back. What you have to do is you have to get better at your feelings. You have to get better at feeling your feelings. You have to really slow down and ask yourself, it's not about the goal, but like, what am I trying to feel? Now, I made a short masterclass that breaks down the 7 main emotions that most humans are afraid of. Like, it's just wired. We're afraid of feeling, 7 main emotions. I'll leave a link to that masterclass if you want to grab it. It's $7, right? No biggie. I'm not making this video to sell you on that masterclass, but it's just something to think about. And I would hate for you to not experience something amazing like love, or like what's on the other side of putting yourself out there on camera, or what's on the other side of just doing something that scares you. I would hate for you to miss out on what's on the other side of that because of your feelings. Okay, so just remember, whatever's holding you back is emotional, and you can work with it. And whatever you're gonna feel, whatever you're afraid of feeling, it's not permanent, and it's not gonna feel that way forever, and you can do it. So just something to think about. My name is Sid Scott. Consider subscribing if you like this type of conversation. I'll see you in the next one.